But Mr. Higgins and I, maybe great minds are thinking alike. Over the past weeks has been kind of tough for me. I've attended 2 funerals of people under 23 years old. As a country, we experienced a near assassination from members of Congress, just like we did with Gabby Gifford 6 years ago. And of course, we had the unfortunate death of one of our very own. This past week, I've been reminded about how short and precious life can be, which always leads me back to one of my core beliefs, which is kindness matters. I'm often asked, and I mean often, if I honestly get along with my colleagues on the GOP side of the aisle on the board. And I usually tell folks the response is I do, and they are in disbelief. Similarly, I am aware that when one of my colleagues had kind words to say about me, he received substantial grief from people who live on his side of the political aisle. People, what is happening to us when we can no longer even be kind and decent to people when we have political differences? When did we become so partisan, so jaded, and so over the top that a comedian can hold the severed head of a president and think that's funny? What happened when we accept a vice presidential candidate who says the words, "Don't retreat, reload"? And when did we accept a president who refers to the media as enemies of the state? It feels like we are completely through the looking glass, and it's starting to feel dangerous. I can, and I regularly do, disagree with my colleagues on this board. I display my opinions, my feelings, and my disagreement with my emotions, the motions I make, and with the arguments I make for my motion, and of course, with my vote. There is never a time that I don't vote my beliefs, my values, and my core issues. But I don't need to hate Mr. Higgins, for example, just because he disagrees with me and I with him. I don't need to believe that he is evil just because I might think that there is something that he is incorrect about. And it feels like that's where we're going. The truth is, none of us have any control over what comes out of D.C., and we don't really have control about what comes out of Richmond. But I have control over myself and my own actions. And to some extent, because I'm chair, I have some control over how this county is viewed. If I make the decision to run for office again, if you feel that your voting for me will require that I treat my colleagues with disregard or disrespect versus simply disagreeing with them, then I'll have to get used to the fact and accept the fact that I might lose your vote. That's hard for me because if a person runs for office, they're running to win. But if it means that I have to hate or even act with malice toward my colleagues, then unfortunately I know you won't vote for me. Clearly, at the national level and maybe at the state level, no one seems to be behaving with any civility. So maybe some lowly supervisor or some lowly chair of a supervisor board has to be the one that says enough is enough, and that just as well be me.